We rented here for, well, 2 years, 3 years before we bought the place.
We thought, okay, now we're gonna make this place really how we'd like to. When we think of our relationship, creating together is a huge part of it. We use the house as a way to create as well.
My name is Koen, I'm a designer. I live here in Amsterdam together with Fadime.
I'm Fadime and I work as a child psychologist. And of course, we have a cat. This is Sok.
We've been living here for about 6 or 7 years.
We've been together almost 10 years.
We're actually both doing an exchange in Turkey.
After that, I convinced Koen to come to Amsterdam.
We moved into another house first. After half a year, then we found this place so we could settle down here. We rented here for a while and then we were thinking, are we gonna look for another house or are we gonna renovate this place? One of the first things we both said we really needed was a dishwasher.
That's true, it started with something practical we really need. But then what happens is, but if we do this, then we first need to tackle this, but we then need to tackle this, we need to tackle this, and then it became this huge project.
Some people claiming it must be at least 65 square meters. I just took that as a compliment. I was like, okay, well, thanks, but it's 45.
Because it's so high and so light and it has these windows and connecting with the outside, it optically looks bigger than 45 square meters.
So this is the hallway. We try to keep it as clean as possible because it's quite a small hallway. Visitors have a clear line of sight through the house to the outside to the water. We added these cabinets over here so that you don't come in and directly look into the bedroom, but you can actually have a bit of a small block. Keys, wallets, phone, everything goes here, and the shoes as well. We have a castle on top of our lamp. One of the things from living small is that it's quite nice to have other small worlds in the house. So we have a lot of tiny scenes, tiny dioramas scattered throughout the house. We also added a mirror there, also to make it again feel more spacious, but also make it more light. You can actually put your coat over here. It used to be here, but then the hallway becomes very cramped and you cannot open the door anymore, so that's why you put it in a cabinet and that works nice as well. The cabinet behind here was made by my father. He made it to fit the stairs. So all the doors kind of open and they're cut, so you still have all the space inside the cabinet, but you can actually open and close the doors. The bookshelf was already here by the previous tenants. It's an IKEA bookshelf, but we just decided to keep it and to fit it to our own needs. These sculptures I've been making the last year, and they're like inspired by exploring old towns or walking around weird twisted buildings. This is a book nook. We have this tradition, Fadime and I, to make Christmas cards or holiday cards for friends. We did a Photoshop of ourselves inside this book nook and we've hidden all kinds of small details that had to do with what happened with us the last year. This famous Dutch artist had this permanent sculpture inside a museum, but then the museum closed down. And I happened to be in a neighborhood with Fadime. It turned out they had thrown the whole sculpture in the trash bag. So we were like, what is going on here? We just decided to cut out a nice part and now it's hanging here on the wall. You can say I've stolen it, you can also say I've saved a part of the sculpture, yeah. Bathroom next. One thing we really loved in old houses was stained glass. Well, this is quite a new house, so there was no stained glass. And then we figured out we could just make some ourselves. And the motif is inspired by Tetris. Living with a cat also comes with some challenges. They also need their own toilet. So we give her own little toilet house over here. Whenever necessary, we can also easily open the door and then clean the litter box. I love to make and create things. I think when you buy something, you first have this peak of that you bought it, a new thing, and then over time it only becomes less valuable. With making it yourself, it's kind of the opposite. First you only see the flaws, and then over time you really start appreciating and it becomes more and more valuable to you. We made this cabinet and we added the mirror cabinets and these shelves. We actually first bought a yellow Fiat as a car, and then only later we learned that there was a Lego set in the same color of the same car, so we had to get the Lego set as well. I was always cleaning the cups where you put your toothbrushes in, and then I figured, well, I can just also have the toothbrush stay inside of the sink. So I designed and 3D printed these holders for the toothbrushes, so they're hanging in our sink right now. Behind this screen we have the shower. So it's a bit small, but it's just functional, it works fine. Oh, this box is just to hide the piping. I made it in Illustrator and then laser cut it and painted it. Stork also needs to be able to access her toilet when the door is closed. So that's why we also have a cat door over here.
Hot damn! Jump on board for a wild ride into a world of colour, creativity, design and delight with this bold and beautiful issue of our magazine. First stop is Madrid, with Gone architects who are bringing bathrooms back, and sexy too. And then we have some Neapolitan magic for you with La Photosynthesi. Get ready to have your mind blown and your eyeballs elated with their imaginative approach to colour and design. Bellissimo! From the hot kitschy mess and magnificence of Memphis, Milano, to the pinky hues synonymous with the grandfather of Mexican modernism, Luis Barragan, we explore the language of colour, how colour and culture intersect, and how colour builds desire too, with small home inspiration from Kuala Lumpur, Sydney and Naples, and a tour of Ricardo Bofill's Symphony of Terracotta and Turquoise, Walden 7. There's so much more inside, including expert advice on how best to welcome colour into the walls of your home, a typewriter with nipples, and nudie Rudy rugs. Wild! Subscribe now for free worldwide shipping.
When you enter the hallway and go down with the stairs, you come across this lovely design. It's Illustrator Heckle. There are these websites where you can upload your photo and they will make the wallpaper from that photo. So it is all segmented. So you have the standard wallpaper size, which ends here. So these I had to do in 3 pieces.
From the entrance you can either go up to the bedroom or down to the kitchen and living area. So let's go down. In this corner we have more storage area, and a nice detail with this storage area are these doorknobs. We've been making these doorknobs ourselves at the forging workshop. That was really cool to do.
A thing we both love to do is to create together. At some point we started to look at vacations where we could just do a project, a creative project together that would also be functional. And then pottery came in. All of our plates, cups, everything we made ourselves. And then it was also the same time the process where we were tiling everything. And we thought, how fun would it be to create a tile that matches? And then we put our signatures there as well.
We have space for our cleaning utensils, for everything we need for our cat. This door also opens up to give us access to all the space we have below the staircase. We removed from the stairs this side panel, so we can store all the cushions there that we have outside right now.
We actually arrived now in the kitchen, which we can enter with a little elevation.
Is there a reason why it's raised off the ground?
From the entrance we took 1 meter or 1.5 down. For the water system not to get in a problem. Okay, you do it. Come here.
Here's the street level. So the sewage is like about here. For the water to keep on flowing down, we needed to raise the kitchen. Otherwise, you need a pump to pump the water back up. So that's why the kitchen is slightly elevated, so you don't need a pump.
Yeah, but at the same time, it creates a different zone for the area as well. Before, it was only the part you see behind me. And with adding this aisle, we have so much more space and storage we can store. And everything is in hand reach as well. We built it with, actually it's an IKEA set. So also the tabletop, which was easily to get a second one to replace the tabletop of the original kitchen, so it would be matching. But we also were very lucky that the available grey fronts of the IKEA set really matched with the original idea itself. Before, the storage beneath here would all be cupboards where you couldn't reach the end part. Everything is now a drawer. Even if these two look like a cupboard, there's a drawer in there as well. The dishwasher is placed over here. So I really wanted the cutlery and the dishwasher rack to be close to each other, so it's very easy to move the clean cutlery back in their place. On top we have the hanging pans. I think it's aesthetically pleasing, but also it saves a lot of space in the kitchen, and it's just easier to reach instead of going all the way back into a drawer. I have a lot of spices, and to place this into a cupboard would create a mess. The construction here was already here, and we only needed to add this bar for us to put little jars with spices in there. It's alphabetically organized. I know exactly where my spices are.
You would come up with a new thing you need in the house, and then we have to figure out how to make it work. And then I often first say like, no, there's no more space, and then we have to figure out how we're gonna make space anyways.
But I know how you work now, because when you say first no, I'm like, yeah, we'll see about that. We didn't have a freezer, so we changed the whole layout of this cupboard because I wanted to fit a freezer. And it was like, there's no space. I'm gonna move all the stuff that's already there to make room for a freezer. Trust me, I got this. You just make the boards. I organize everything. There we can have a freezer. The fronts didn't fit anymore with the new fridge and the freezer, so we came up with a solution. It's MDF, and we cut it at the exact sizes we needed, and then we painted it with spray paint. We needed some air ventilation for the fridge and the freezer, and Koen was like, well, we can also make it ourselves. And instead of just having holes, we can also have in the shape of bell peppers.
For our living room, we wanted a piece of furniture that nicely contrasted the tiles. That's why we decided to paint everything pink. So we have this combination of cabinets that form one big storage unit. We integrated a working shelf. Whenever I want to work on some small projects from home, I can flip these open, get this out, and then I have all kinds of tools and a laptop laying around just to start working on the project. What I'm personally struggling a bit with is for bigger projects. I cannot do that at home, so that's a bit of a thing I would really like to have closer to this house. So since 2 years I've also rented an office space or a workshop space nearby. I've thought about it, like to make a bigger workspace here, but I also like to keep it a bit separated, like working and living.
We used to have a hiding spot for Sok here, but she was never using it, so we decided to make better use of the space, and now I put a lot of food in there. I store food in the cupboard now, so there's no place for Sok anymore. We have this card rack.
Sending postcards is not a thing that happens too much nowadays, so whenever you get one, it's very personal. We thought, well, let's put it in this nice rack so we can still see them sometimes, browse through them.
I'm pretty messy, so I would start 10 projects at the same time but won't clean afterwards while jumping to another project. And that can be difficult for Koen. And we found a solution which we can both live with, and that's the basket system. So whenever I have stuff lying around, he would just shove everything in my basket. I have to do it at the end of the week, but normally it's 2 weeks or once in a month. I empty my basket. Koen has one as well, but most of the time mine is much fuller than his.
This is the lounge and TV area. As you can see, it's right next to the kitchen, which is really nice. If I want to watch a show and Fadime wants to cook, we can just still be close to each other. So this one moves in this direction. It started with our initial layout. We had the TV in front of the window and we wanted to be able to see the water. The best solution for us was to kind of move all the functions to the walls, so we have a big open space in the middle. The only challenge that brought is that the other side is 5 meters away, and that's just quite far for the television to be. Gradually we came up with the solution of putting it behind the couch and then sliding it with a sliding rail to the front. This rail is a rail that we bought. You can use it to hang doors, and then we combined it with an arm that you use to hang a TV on the ceiling, and then made a cover around it. The cover also opens up and hides a game console. I made the sculpture, it's all MDF, just cutting and gluing everything in parts. I really like weird switches, weird toggles. I've had people asking me, why don't you use smart switches and smart lighting systems? And I don't like to use everything with an app, but I like big chunky light switches. So for example, this one, it's a very nice big handle, and especially when you turn it off, it goes clunk. So that's great. This is also a ceramic handle that we made ourselves. So if we're downstairs here and we want to close the blinds, I just grab it, and then in one movement I can take hold of it, press it, and the blinds go down, and I can let this go back up. There was a bit of an error for me that I didn't find a system that had 2 remotes, so I had to figure out a way to get this remote accessible from both downstairs and upstairs. Yeah, it's alright. We've had a lot of questions about the table. It was an existing table and we just changed the legs.
And on this table, we can host 10 people. On sunny days, we love to put everything open. And in that way, we actually extend our living area to the outside. We have actually 2 decks going on here. One is attached to the house, so it's very stable. And we also have a floating deck underneath. And that one Koen made himself in collaboration with a friend. We actually built it inside, and it's around maybe the same size as our living room. And part by part, he moved it outside, and now it's floating here. We can have a lovely seat with a view over the water. I have all these herbs here. We have an apple tree. We have some broccoli coming up. I am a big fan of swimming, so I have to make use of it to the maximum. At the colder days, I would just dip by taking out a ladder, and then you can just let it in, and then it unfolds automatically into the water. But when it's a warm day like this, then we do a lot of swimming here as well. In the mornings, I don't go through the hassle of getting the chairs out. This is my spot. I just sit here, have the nice view over the water, have my breakfast here.
This upper level holds our bedroom and also our wardrobe. When we moved into the apartment, the cupboard was already there, but we decided to add all the mirrors to give the room a more spacious feeling. We have this little frame filled with my brooches, and you can just pick them out, pin them on, and when you're done with them, I just put them back here. This is the sleeping area. We really try to make this its own secluded space. This is a hare. I did an art project for sculptures in public space, and I made a series of 30 concrete hares. And you can play the game leapfrog with them. I know in English you say leapfrogging, but in Dutch it's haasje over, which is like jumping over the hare. If it would have done this in English country, I would have made frogs, but I've made hares.
We wanted to be able to have a lamp which we could turn on and off on both levels. So I can reach it at this place. I can also reach it over here.
This is a slaaptafel. So last year Never Too Small asked me to design a piece of furniture that will be multifunctional pet furniture for the Melbourne Design Week, which could be produced with plywood. But That was all the way over in Melbourne, and only this week I had it made here. So we had like a small table to put some things on, and we had like a small camping chair that Sak would like to sleep in. So for me that seemed like the perfect thing to combine into one piece of furniture.
We build a whole frame around the bed with a couple of purposes. One is that we live close to water, and where water is, there are mosquitoes. So we really wanted to have a system where we could keep those mosquitoes out by having a curtain net that is airtight. So in the summer, we would just have these light curtains all closed. And maybe sometimes you trap a mosquito, but then you know in that limited space we can find them. If we don't have it and we have to hunt for mosquitoes in this area with such high ceilings, there are multiple places we are not able to reach. We also have a second thicker one, and this one doesn't let any light through. So Koen and I used to have a different rhythm where I would get up much earlier than him, and in this way I could fully close everything off and he would just have his dark spot and continue sleeping. And I could just start my day opening the windows and have some sunlight in the house.
On this side we have our laundry rack. We can just hang out the laundry to dry, but have it in a nice place. Because you know, you have laundry always, so you might as well put it in a nice place. Also with dirty laundry, we have a hole here, we can just toss everything in there. A nice detail, for example, is this extra long beam we made here. So you can do like a full blanket on there. We do hang it on the rail sometimes, but at the same time, I try to not do that because it kind of makes you feel you're living in the laundry room, and that's what I want to avoid. These are just regular IKEA Ivar cabinets. And these are also just from IKEA, and the structure around it is custom. It's just some planks on the side and some struts to hold it up. If you are a little bit okay with DIYing, you can probably recreate it yourself. When I was 12 or 13 years old, it was time for me to get a new bike. So I just picked, I think, the weirdest bike I could find, the craziest one. But I couldn't do it away, so I just kept it, and now it's like a piece on the wall. It was very tricky to get it up there. A couple months ago we had a concert here. So we had, I think, 10 people downstairs and like 5 people upstairs here. And they were sitting here and looking over the railing. We only have to get rid of the table, and then we have quite a lot of space for like the concerts or a movie night or whatever. This house is very nice now, and it has been very nice the last couple of years, but maybe in a couple of years it will be too small.
We're thinking also in the future, like, okay, when we want to have kids, would this place be enough for that? It might be time to look for the next phase, like, okay, what do we want? But yeah, that's something we're very excited about also for the next step in maybe having a family and being able to even create more together in that space.
See the original apartment tour here and sign up to our newsletter for subscriber-only content and exclusive offers. Visit nevertoosmall.com/subscribe.